สวัสดีค่ะนักลงทุนและผู้ที่สนใจเข้ารับชมทุกท่านค่ะดิฉันธาริรัตน์นักลงทุนสัมพันธ์ขอยินดีต้อนรับทุกท่านเข้าสู่งาน Opportunity Day เพื่อนำเสนอผลประกอบการปี 2566 ของบริษัท Symphony Communication จำกัดมหาชนค่ะแล้วก็เช่นเคยนะคะวันนี้ผู้บริหารที่จะมานำเสนอผลการดำเนินงานแล้วก็ตอบคำถามของทุกท่านขอแนะนำประธานบริหารฝ่ายปฏิบัติการและรักษาการประธานบริหารฝ่ายการเงินมิสเตอร์อเล็กซ์โลค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ Good morning everyone. So thank you very much for the opportunity day and thank you for you guys who joining online on this for Symphony Opportunity Day. I will take through a simple presentations on the overall company background and also what do we do and a little bit on our services and products, and then followed by the financial performance, especially on the 2023 performance that we just announced. And then we'll probably move to a little bit on what we foresee or the guidance for this year's 2024. And then we move on to the Q&A, which I believe some of the investors or even the analysts or whoever that join today's opportunity day, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to take through the questions. Just a quick one on our business. Sorry, just a second. Yep. So we are actually a fixed line Thai network providers in Thailand. So basically we have a license to lay fiber across the countries, and we focus very much on network connectivity together with other services that is relevant on top of the network services that we provide. We are listed in Stock Exchange of Thailand, and also we also certify for a few certificates to make sure our systems policies are governed to give assurance to our customers. We have own private cable landing stations together with the investments in the submarine cables that is actually form part of our infrastructure assets that we build for the international business. We are partly owned by Time.com. Time.com is actually a Malaysian fixed line service provider who is also have the similar business with Symphony. If you look at where we are today and the footprint of Symphonies, we are pretty much focusing on the fixed line business, which is typically non-mobile. So we don't do mobile services and we don't do home broadband. So we focus very much on our infra assets that we deploy, mainly from the fiber network that we build nationwide in Thailand, which what I call it a terrestrial fiber networks. We have connected to the international network, so basically we have a cross-border fiber that actually can link up with neighboring countries to actually extend our domestic connectivity together with the third party to offer international network services for our customers. Our infra assets also including the submarine cable that I just mentioned. So it's actually something that is giving us an opportunity to serve our international community, via our subsea cables that we invested. So basically, apart from Thailand, we also extend our services to neighboring countries, neighboring borders. Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam, Malaysia are some of key markets or key customers that are coming in order to provide the services for them. Our POPs are in Singapore, Hong Kong, so basically we can reach out to the audience in Singapore and Hong Kong for all those network connectivity related. Our services are the key focus are focusing on connectivity, data centers, cloud, cybersecurities or /securities, and some of the digital ICT solutions that we can provide to our customers. Our customers are a very wide range of customers. We are pretty much covered on B2B markets, which is enterprises across public and also private sectors. We have partners, which two types of partners. One is actually the ISP type, which is internet service provider type, who doesn't have network, but they provide internet and services to customers. So we give them the wholesale network for them. We have non-ISP partners, who are typically those system integrator software that requires our network services to be bundled for them or to be used by them, And then carriers are typically for international. So carriers, including the overseas carriers, telco, cloud service providers, or even to some extent the OTT, which is actually over the top providers in worldwide. Example, Facebook, Tencent, and those e-commerce companies in the world that actually requires a big bandwidth. So basically, if you look at our key pillar of services, we are focusing very much on the 5 pillars: connectivity, internet, be it for domestic and internationals. And then we have data center, which is we providing co-locations through our partner data center operations, depending on enterprise requirements. Cloud service and security is also something that we put on top, for our B2B customers. And to support all these things, we focusing very much on one stop. So we are providing end-to-end managed services for our customers. Next is a bit examples how we our customers are based. We today have about 2,000 customers using our services across our whole entire offerings. Majorities are coming from the private sectors and also public sector, which is what I call it enterprises, and it can be spanned across from banking all the way to services industry, or even to hotels, or even to education sectors perspective. We do have cloud SI that is also using our services, and typically these are the key partners that is actually focusing on domestics. If you look at ISP telco, we do have some partners that are actually coming from telco related or ISP related. They are also using our services as part of their backbone or maybe extensions of their services to their end customers. Data centers, OTT, or maybe tech companies are always using our services, be it for domestics also or for international as well. On the international, is a bit very wide-based range of customers. It can be coming from e-commerce, the OTT, the cloud guys who are setting up their infrastructures, and then we provide the network services domestically or even internationally to Singapore. A bit of our infrastructures just to share with the audience today. So as I mentioned, we have license to build our network, so we lay fiber across the whole nationwide Thailand. So we lay fiber all the way from the borders, and all the way to Bangkok, and then from Bangkok to borders again, and from there we actually lay fiber to reach out to our end customers. In this case, depending on where the customer's locations is. If you look at these slides, very short. We have 5 border connectivities. From Myanmar we have 2, Laos we have 1, and then Cambodia we have 1, and then to Malaysia, which is actually the main gateway to Singapore. So we are connected to the Malaysian providers for the fiber connectivity. With this domestic fiber that we have and the cross-border connections, we can provide the domestic network services and the international network services for our range of customers. We have 2 POPs, one in Singapore and Hong Kong. The reason why we have these 2 POPs is actually for peering and also to reach out to the content, because these 2 countries are where all the digital hubs for the traffic, for the network related providers to actually peer together. So next slide is a bit on the data statistics of our footprint. So we pretty much cover nationwide key provinces. We are actually on 50 provinces. Our fiber distance across the whole nation is about 25,000. We are pretty much focusing on the buildings, so we are connected to many buildings, especially in Bangkok. In Bangkok, I think our buildings penetrations access will be actually close to 300 buildings, and we have about 100 industrial estates that we are connected right in front of the industrial estates, and different provinces we have different coverage, but basically all the key provinces we have coverage and we are served by our service centers. So we have our dedicated team to take care of our network in each of the provinces. One of the key our services, which is internet service connectivity. So we actually provide internet to our customers, and so that the customers can actually use our internet gateway to connect to various contents or upstream providers, to reach out to their data and also content related, And this is actually to show, for example, if you want to connect to Google, Amazon, we actually can link up for our end customers using our internet gateway. A bit on the international. So this is a very high level summary of our submarine network connectivities. So as I mentioned, we have our own subsea cable that land in our cable landing stations. And from our subsea cables that we invested, it can also link up with different cables across the ASEANs, for it to be connected to different places, be it in Europe or in US or even Hong Kong, Japan, or Singapore, So some of these cables belongs to our parent company, which is Time.com. So Time.com is also have about 4 or 5 cables that is actually connected to various destinations. This MCT, this is our own cable, subsea cable that we invested. We own 33% of the consortium ownerships of these cables. It's actually the cable that connecting the 3 countries, Malaysia, Cambodia, and Thailand. So it's about 1,003 kilometers. And these cables will give us an alternative apart from the domestic terrestrial fiber network. We can actually serve our customers to Malaysia and Singapore, or maybe to some extent to Hong Kong, using our MCT and connected to the other cables that is actually in Malaysia or Singapore. So this is just a bit of facts about our landing stations. It's actually in Rayong, which is actually in the EC area. It's not really that far from Bangkok, so it's about on road distance is about 200 kilometers, and it's actually fully protected in terms of the backhaul access. All the facilities are meeting the minimum requirements. We have our 24/7 operation team that sits in landing stations to monitor the subsea cables day-to-day operations and the performance. A quick landscapes on the data centers. I'm sure the market or the public will probably have here a lot of the data centers are setting up footprint in Bangkok or outside Bangkok. So if you look at these slides, a very short one, all those orange dots are representing the data centers in Bangkok and outside Bangkok. Symphony itself, we lay fiber to all these data centers. And some of these data center, we actually put our own equipments so that we can actually connect the data centers to data centers or data centers to customers' premises, depending on what is the requirement of the customers. One is an interesting point is we have our cable landing station in Moli. From Moli, I can actually go to Bangkok, any of the data centers, by actually giving the network access connectivity from the subsea cables all the way from our landing stations to any of the data centers in Bangkok. From here, we can actually serve various services that we can, and we can actually provide the necessary benefits for our customer who are using our services. A quick one on the cloud, apart from the network, I believe right now a lot of enterprises are going through digital transformations. And what is very important today in the IT or even network perspective is how things are being stored in either on premises or all actually on cloud. So we do have our own private cloud, and together with some of the public cloud providers, we are providing our cloud end-to-end services for our customers. So basically, if the customer requires to move everything from on-prem to cloud, we have our team that is actually serving them, including for planning, design, migrations, and also technical support for our customers. So with these cloud services, it also can help us to direct connect to various cloud providers, public cloud providers, whether it's in US, in Singapore, or to some extent in Hong Kong. Okay, and these cloud services that we're providing to our customer is actually to bridge the network connectivity for them to reach out to all these cloud providers in various countries. A bit on the moving into financials, we just closed our 2023 performance. Just a quick highlights on the revenue, we hit 2 billion baht, from our existing records or trendings. Our net profit is about 200 millions, and our margin has improved significantly. We capture a little bit on the international markets for the last couple of years, mainly coming from the organic demand and also the post-COVID, or maybe during the COVID and the post-COVID situations. Our balance sheet is healthy, together with our cash flows. From a ratio perspective, whether from a financial growth or profitability, our debt ratios are also significantly improved. We just announced our dividends, and probably this round is one of the highest for the last 7 years. And hopefully this will also reflect in our fundamental of our business and our performance for these years. Moving a bit on the trendings, if you can see revenue, EBITDA, net profit, we have been on the rising trend for the last couple of years, since 2018. If you look at asset, liability, and equity, you can see actually is on the rising trend as well. And hopefully this will give a flavor to our investors and also our publics in terms of how we perform in the markets. I wouldn't go through this detail, but just to quick run through our revenue mix today. If you look at the last 2 years, domestic market contributing about 57%. If you look at the 2023s, domestic market means enterprise and our wholesale partners. Okay, international today contributing about 40% to 43%. Of course, the numbers a little bit vary because it's a combination of mix. But technically, on the rule of thumb, today international contribute about 40%, domestic is about 60%. Just a little bit on the cash flow today. We are sitting on 400 million cash flows, based on the cutoff date of 31st December. Our debt maturity profile significantly reduced. Basically, we have been serving our debt through our operation cash flow, and you probably would have seen we pretty much prudence in terms of how we spend the monies, together with how we get the operation cash flow. Financial ratio, if you look at different types of ratios, from the 2017 to now, about 7 years, 6 years, you would have seen things on the improved trend, and that is also reflecting how we perform over the last few years, and also from a balance sheet standpoint, from a cash flow, from a growth perspective. Quick one summary of the dividend payments. We also not forgetting our shareholders who stand behind us throughout the whole journeys. We do have our policies, and I believe our policy is about 40%. But again, the payment or the dividend payout depends on the profitability and also the business requirements, as we evaluating the needs, how we want to put priority on the business expansions, CapEx expansions, new business, or any new things that we want to, including the working capitals as well. So we are happy to announce this year's a slightly higher than before, although we wanted to maintain our standard practice of 25% ratios. But this year we are giving a special dividend as well. So hopefully this is also to reward our shareholders based on our performance 2023. So a bit on the guidance going forward, as far as to the guidance is also depending on the external factors, internal factors, and maybe to some extent the business outlook. There will be an element of it's a judgment basis, but internally we are guiding our performance 2024 on relatively conservative to some extent, mainly because of the external factors. Probably on the revenue, we're hoping to see a double-digit growth. Probably based on assessment today would be low to mid. Our EBITDA would be low to mid single-digit growth. Mainly it's also because the costs would have to be relooked into in terms of some of the rising costs on the operations. As we are also spending on some of the new services. Net profit will be probably aiming to be double-digit growth, on the basis of the hopefully the strong momentum on the sales and the revenue that's coming in. And our CapEx spending rule of thumb is about 20%, but again, will be within the range of 20 to 25% of our revenues. This CapEx is also spent for improvement of our infrastructures, so 60% would be on our own network improvement, backbone, access, that we need to do. If there's a fiber cut, I need to replace a fiber. So those are part of the 60% that I'm talking about. 40% maybe towards the customers, new customers. So when I need to get a new customer, I need to spend some CapEx to lay the fiber, and that would be within the 40% of my CapEx. A bit on where we are seeing ourselves going forwards, from my aspirations or what we wanted to be in going forward in the markets or in the core business of Symphony is we are very much fixed line. So we're focusing on B2B and partners and international perspectives. So we don't do mobile. So we only focusing on fixed line telco ISP in Thailand. We wanted to be seeing ourselves as a market leader in the connectivity, be it from the footprint, coverage, even from services that we provide to our customers. Cloud and security is something that we see as a requirement for our B2B market, especially. So we probably accelerate on these services offering, on top of the network services, so that we can actually able to fulfill our customers' digitalization requirements. International connectivity, we aim to be one of the key leading players. Mainly it's also because we have extensive infrastructure that we can actually help our international customers, especially on the global carriers, telco, cloud, hyperscalers, and some of the content providers. Of course, part of this is also not to forget, we will continue to invest on new technologies, new system capabilities, so that we can actually provide a better services to our customers with, of course, lower cost or cost optimization to our end customers. What differentiates us from our competitor is the way that we serve our customers, the way we put our customers on priorities, So our service differentiating point is very important. So customer who use our services will be guaranteed on higher level of service guarantee, including commitment that how we ensure that they get, and receive, And of course, this is also important because customer will actually pay based on what the quality that they need, not based on what they need. Okay. So that is basically a quick on the presentations, of our background, our services, and our performance. And I actually moving on to the Q&A. If some of you guys have any questions for me.
ค่ะก็จบกันไปแล้วนะคะสำหรับการนำเสนอผลการดำเนินงานของปี 2566 ค่ะต่อมาเดี๋ยวเราจะเริ่มเป็นตอบคำถามที่นักลงทุนได้สอบถามเข้ามานะคะข้อแรกนะคะอันนี้พิมพ์เป็นภาษาไทยมาขอถามเรื่องก็เลยจะสอบถามว่าทางบริษัทมีนโยบายจะจ่ายตาม policy ได้เมื่อไหร่อย่างไรค่ะthe dividend policy 40%.
So I think the questions are all in Thai, but I have my assistant here to help me to understand the questions. I will probably answer in English, and if I can, I will try a little bit on Thai perspective. On the dividend policy, yes, it's 40%. I mean that is the policy that we announced for many years. But then again, when we look at the dividend, we have to look at few areas: profitability, our business requirements, working capital, new business that we wanted to do. So we probably at this moment we are on the expansions and growth stage of the company. So we do have a lot of plans that how we. ผมรู้สึกว่าทุกคนอาจจะรู้เรื่องเกี่ยวกับ AI. Okay. AI is a new technology, and AI is supposed to related to the data centers. And data center needs to have more power, okay, in order to serve the AI. Okay, so the new data centers are actually built for high capacity, which is actually high power capacity. Minimum is 5 megawatt, but I think right now some are actually building new data center for 50 megawatt all the way to 100 megawatt. Okay. And typically data center also will have rack, co-location rack, and the rack usually is 3 kilowatt, but now no, one rack maybe you need to serve 40 kilowatt. So you will see the landscape of the data center have changed. Enterprises used to put their equipments into the co-location data center operator so that they can actually reduce their capex, reduce their operations, But these data center hyperscaler are very big, usually are for those cloud providers, For example, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, they need to have this big data center capacity in order to host their equipments, their infrastructures. And why they put in Thailand is also because to be near to the populations. AWS cloud need to serve cloud services for many customers in the regions, including Thailand, CLMV. Okay? And by putting here, it also will reach out and have a better performance, services guarantee, no very low latencies.
ค่ะต่อมาเป็นคำถามที่2นะคะเกี่ยวกับthe gross profit margin by segment between enterprise, wholesale, and international. How we can explain the margin by each segment?
Okay, so our gross margin is very different. It's impossible to have fixed gross margin for enterprise, international, or wholesales. Our solution are very different from one customer to another customers. So price structure, cost structures are very different, So we are unable to split because different projects, different services have different gross margin structures. Our blended gross margin is about 60 to 65%, excluding depreciations. So this would be the range of our gross margin of our overall core business.
Next question, the CapEx plan in year 2024.
As I mentioned in my slide, our capex is about 20 to 25% of our revenue. So we are looking at about 300 to 400 million at the range of our capex planning for this year.
Next นะคะ what is the benefit for Symphony that we got from time.com, who is the majority big shareholder.
So time.com is one of our shareholder. They are also investors, but time.com and Symphony are different companies because both of them are listed in Stock Exchange of Malaysia and Thailand. Time.com do not involve in the day-to-day operations. Time.com only share the knowledge, technical expertise, technology, to Symphony, including the best practices. We have a similar business, but because we operate in two different countries, we can always share and copy and paste what is the best practices, technology, so that we can actually implement in Symphony, for examples. So we have our own management team, we have our own operation team to take care of our own day-to-day business and operations.
ก็คือแยกกัน operate นะคะแต่ว่าก็มีการแชร์เรื่องของความเชี่ยวชาญด้านเทคโนโลยีร่วมกันค่ะต่อไปนะคะ What is the difference between direct internet and private network?
So private network is lease line. So lease line is a data connectivity from point A to point B. Okay. Example, bank. Okay. Bank can use the private network to connect all branches, ATM, to the HQ. So that is a private network. So they need a lease line connectivity. Direct internet is actually internet that we provide to the customers so that they can actually access our internet gateway to connect it to different providers, different contents to get access to the open platform like cloud, YouTube, various applications or even usage applications to reach out to their day-to-day searching perspective.
ก็คือการเรื่องของการเชื่อมต่อในเป็น private หรือว่าต่อเข้าไปยังส่วนข้างนอกนะคะต่อมาเป็นคำถามเรื่องthe recently in this recent year hyperscaler data center implement in Thailand very much and does the team have the benefit from this data center in Thailand?
Many hyperscaler data center are investing in Thailand, yes, because of power, okay, and also Thailand and the CLMV is a big markets, okay. So Singapore used to be the main hub, but Singapore also full, and they are requiring to move or set up another digital hub or their network infrastructures to be closer to the new populations so that they can actually cover more access, okay. Thailand is the right choice is here because Thailand is actually in the middle of many countries, and how they can benefit us is Symphony can actually provide this network connectivity for these hyperscaler data centers, and anyone who use these data centers, we can also get the benefit because we can provide the connectivity in domestic markets and also international if they need to go back to Singapore, Hong Kong, or to any of the locations, because usually this data center would have a lot of these OTT cloud content providers to peer together, So the more that they are into this data center, the more that we can serve them to many locations.
Why did the domestic revenue not grow last year, especially in the second and third quarter that decreased? What is the trend domestic revenue this year?
Okay, so I think the questions come from domestic market. So we have two types of domestic players or customers. First is actually the wholesale ISP, the partners. Then we have enterprises, which is coming from public sector, private sectors, or maybe governments. Okay, so last year's, if you look at the overall domestic market, is not growing as before, is because two reasons. Some companies are cutting costs. Okay, so they are reducing costs. So a lot of them actually change their spending to another year. Okay, hopefully it will be this year's. On the government side, you have seen new prime ministers taking over for Thailand. Okay, so the government budgets also have been deferred. Okay, so a lot of the projects also postponed, and so we are seeing the domestic is not growing as fast as we think. Okay, but I believe this year's or even going forward, domestic markets needs to come back, because there are a lot of things that we can do, and digital transformation is one of the key areas. The enterprises, whether it's banks, securities, hotels, education, services sectors, they need to continue to spend monies on the new technology, new network, digitalization, and all these things then require a fundamental increased usage of data, connectivity. They need cloud, they need security. So you probably will see going forward, the trend will be more than last year's.
Is it possible for the company to attend the opportunity day twice a year in second and the fourth quarters?
Yeah, we happy to discuss with various parties, all the way from investor, analysts, or even to public, in this kind of opportunity day, we will consider to have more opportunity day. Our rule of thumb is hopefully will be twice a year, but we will try to do it on a quarterly basis, and so that we can actually get to share more developments and updates to the public.
ผู้เล่นที่มี positioning เหมือน Symphony ในอุตสาหกรรมมีประมาณกี่ราย Our same competitor in telco fixed line, how many company and the same how much we the range of our market share.
Okay, so in Thailand we have many licensed network providers, so they can lay fiber, but services that they can give maybe not all are the same. In short, Symphony have few competitors, AIS and True are one of our competitors. We have private network service provider like UIH, Interlink, ALT, maybe also our competitors. But because we are very wide-based, we have range of customers, we have different assets, we have different product and solutions. So not all are the same competitor, similar 100%, So again, it depends on which area we measure. Okay, but in terms of the market share, it's also very different. Market share for international is different. Market share for domestic is different. So it's a bit difficult to measure the market share, and maybe the information is not available in the market. So you're probably very difficult to measure or to calculate the market share. Yeah.
ปัจจุบันรายได้จากบริษัทเนี่ยมาจากลูกค้ากลุ่ม Data Center และ Cloud กี่เปอร์เซ็นต์ของรายได้ปี 2023
So as I mentioned, our revenue comes from three segments: international, enterprise, and wholesale. Wholesale. But wholesale is very small, but they are part of the domestics. We don't go down by each customer. So some of our data centers are in enterprise markets, and cloud providers are usually coming from both enterprise and also international. So we don't take all, because usually data center and cloud, they use different providers. And I know we are running out of time, so there will be last two questions, so I hope I can answer the last two questions.
The capex of this year, do we have the plan to have big investment this year?
I think maybe big investment is very subjective. like say we allocate every year is about 300 to 400 millions. Some of these can be for main network, so it can be big projects. But if you're talking about special big project, at this moment there is none. So our capex will be this year will be more towards our existing business as usual.
เป็นคำถามสุดท้ายนะคะเนื่องจากมีเวลาจำกัดที่บริหารมองว่า GP and net profit margin what is the situation the best for our company.
Okay, so GP margin and net profit margin is very subjective. It's how we manage the cost, how we optimize our costs. On the GP, I mentioned 60 to 65% is the average range. Net profit is after depreciations, after financing costs, and tax as well. So we also have to manage in many ways the cost structures. Of course, you ask me, we will try to maintain a very sustainable recurring margin. Our business is 90% are recurring. Okay, so we are very focused on recurring income and optimizing on our recurring costs. There will be some cost increase, like for example, electricity will increase, but we can actually optimize on other cost structures. So we try to balance our cost spendings, so that we can actually try to sustain within the range of the profit margin.
ค่ะก็สำหรับวันนี้ทางบริษัท Symphony Communication จำกัดมหาชนขอบพระคุณทุกท่านที่สนใจเข้าร่วมรับชมผลการดำเนินงานในครั้งนี้นะคะหากท่านใดมีคำถามเพิ่มเติมสามารถติดต่อมายังฝ่ายลงทุนสัมพันธ์ได้นะคะที่อีเมล ir@symphony.net.th หรือจะติดตามผลการดำเนินงานจากทางเว็บไซต์ของบริษัทได้เลยค่ะสำหรับวันนี้คุณอเล็กซ์และดิฉันขอลาไปก่อนค่ะแล้วพบกันใหม่ค่ะ
Thank you so much. Thank you ขอบคุณครับ